This land was nothing but a barren stretch of wilderness, overlooked and forgotten, until someone dared to wonder, what if there's more here? And then, gold. The same is true for us. Maybe the dreams we thought were gone, the hope we thought had run dry, aren't missing at all. They're simply waiting to be unearthed. See, what's most valuable in life requires digging.
Some victories aren't won in a single moment. Most miracles don't happen overnight. And dreams usually aren't unlocked by one big breakthrough, but by thousands of small steps of faith. And in those moments, when progress slows, when silence lingers, and when the ground feels hard, the greatest temptation isn't to rebel, it's to quit, to walk away, to settle for less, to stop just short of the promise. But what if the harvest is only one more prayer away? What if the gold is still in the ground, just a little deeper than you thought? What if the miracle is closer than you realize, but you'll never see it if you stop now? Welcome back, City First, to the final week of our series, Gold in the Ground. Last week, we talked about how to rebuild what remains, how God can take the rubble of your life and brick by brick restore what has been broken. But today, we're tackling something every single one of us faces, the temptation to quit too soon. You know how it goes. You start a new relationship, launch a new business, volunteer in a ministry, or step into a calling, and at first, it is exciting. The adrenaline is pumping, the passion is there. You're convinced, God, I know you called me to this. But then it gets harder than you expected. The results slow down, the feelings start to change, the novelty wears off. And one day, this thought creeps into your head. Maybe I should just walk away. We've all been there. The dream hasn't disappeared, but the drive has. The vision hasn't changed, but your endurance has. And quitting feels easier than pressing on. That's where our Goldfield backdrop speaks so loudly. In the late 1800s, Goldfield, Arizona was booming, buzzing with life, and full of people chasing their dreams. Word spread that gold was sitting right near the surface. You didn't have to dig deep to strike it rich. And at first, it worked. People found gold quickly. The saloons were full, the shops were busy, the town was alive, and it was full of energy. But then the easy gold ran out. It wasn't gone, but the other gold was just deeper. And when the digging required more effort, people, they started leaving. And here's the wild part. Modern excavations have shown that there's still gold in the ground. The dream wasn't dead. It was just buried deeper than people expected. And I can't help but wonder how many of us have done the exact same thing. How many prayers, how many callings, how many healthy marriages or relationships, how many God-given dreams have been abandoned. Not because the potential was gone, not because God was finished, but simply because the digging got difficult. The writer of Galatians 6:9 speaks to this moment. He says, "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." Notice what it doesn't say. It doesn't say, if you do everything perfectly. It doesn't say, if you never make a mistake. It simply says, if you don't give up. That means you can be faithful and still feel frustrated. You can be obedient and still feel like nothing's moving. You can keep showing up and it can still feel like the ground is super hard. Here's the promise. If you keep going, if you refuse to quit, you position yourself for even a greater harvest than you could ever imagine. Anybody can start something. Anybody can launch a business, join a ministry, get into a relationship, step into a calling, or say yes to a dream. Starting really doesn't require much faith. Staying requires faith. Staying when it's dry, staying when it's quiet, staying when the ground is hard, staying when nobody notices all of the hard work you're putting in. Endurance is what builds something that lasts. Sometimes what looks like a dead end isn't the end at all. It's just a test of your endurance. Author Mark Batterson says it this way: at the end of your life, your greatest regret won't be the things you did, it'll be the things you didn't do, the opportunities you didn't seize, the dreams you didn't chase. For many of us, we're not actually tired, we're just discouraged. And there's a big difference. Fatigue says, I can't keep going. Discouragement says, I don't want to keep going. That's why quitting will always cost you more than discomfort ever will. Don't let a temporary feeling cause you to make a permanent decision. So how do we cultivate endurance when everything in us wants to quit? Just like the miners in Goldfield used different tools to dig deeper, God has given us different tools to keep going when the ground gets hard. Let's look at 3 of them together. The first tool is learning to zoom out. Galatians 6:9 says this: at the proper time, we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. I love that phrase, at the proper time. We live in a culture obsessed with instant results, instant answers, and instant growth. They want instant gratification, but God doesn't work like that. Here's what I mean. Some things in life are like fireworks. They're loud, they're bright, they grab our attention really fast, but they fade just as quickly. God works more like a seed. A seed goes into the ground unseen and unnoticed, but in time it takes root and grows strong and produces a fruit that lasts. Fireworks give you a flash, a seed gives you a harvest. The danger comes when we zoom in too close on one moment, one season, or one snapshot, and we assume it defines our whole story. But a snapshot isn't the whole story. If you look at Joseph in the pit in the Old Testament, you'd think, well, the dream is dead. Now zoom out though, and you see that God was just positioning him for the palace. If you look at Jesus on the cross, you would think hope is gone. Zoom out, and you will see an empty tomb and new life. Right now, you might be stuck in a painful scene, but God is still directing the movie. The second tool is learning to pivot with purpose. One of the enemy's greatest lies is this: if it's hard, it must be the wrong path. But endurance doesn't always mean doing the exact same thing forever. Sometimes it means adjusting the method while staying faithful to the mission. Paul modeled this beautifully in ministry in 1 Corinthians chapter 9. He says, I have become all things to all people so that by all possible means might save some. Paul's mission never changed, but his method did. That's not quitting, that's wisdom. In your marriage, adjust your approach instead of abandoning the relationship. In your career, shift the strategy instead of walking away from your calling. In your dreams, pivot the plan, but keep pursuing the vision. Quitting says, I'm done. Pivoting says, I'm still called. I'm just listening to God for new directions in this moment. And finally, the third tool is finding your people. Endurance grows in community. Think of Moses in Exodus 17. As long as Moses held up his staff, Israel was winning in the battle. But when his arms grew tired, he started to falter, and at that point, the Israelites started to lose. Aaron and Hur, his friends, came alongside of him and held up his arms. Moses didn't win alone. He endured because he had people beside him. When your faith feels weak, borrow someone else's. When you're discouraged, let their belief fuel yours. When you want to quit, lean on their strength until you find your own. Hebrews 10:24 challenges us by saying, "Let us consider how we may spur one another on towards love and good deeds." Surround yourself with people who can look you in the eye and say, "You can't give up here. You got to keep going." And be that voice to someone else, because endurance is contagious. Goldfield looked finished. People walked away, dreams dried up, but the gold was still in the ground. They were just tired, and they quit digging too soon. And maybe that's where you are right now. The promise God gave you, the calling He placed in your heart, the dream He stirred in your spirit, it's not gone. It may be buried. It may be burned. It may look like bones, but it is not over. Over these 4 weeks, we've discovered this. Week 1, that what feels dead may just be dormant, waiting for God's breath. Week 2, perspective matters. What you magnify determines where you move. Week 3, Nehemiah gave us a blueprint for rebuilding. Pray, survey, rally, and defend. And now in week 4, don't quit. Don't quit too soon. The harvest is still there. Galatians 6:9 promises us, at the proper time, we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. So City First, don't quit. Don't settle. Don't walk away from what God is still writing. You may be closer than you think, closer to the breakthrough, closer to the answer, closer to the miracle that you've been praying for. Paul said at the end of his life, "I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith." That's the cry of someone who refuses to quit too soon. So lift your head. The God who turns graves into gardens, bones into armies, and crosses into empty tombs, that same God is alive and working in you. This isn't the end of your story. Keep dreaming, keep building, keep believing, because the gold is still in the ground. And the God who called you is faithful to finish what He started.